Hey there, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Ever feel like you wish you had like a guidebook for life? You know, something that could give you a little more insight into your strengths, maybe your challenges, things like that.
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a source that says it can do just that. It's called Adam's Birthday Book.
Oh, interesting. A book that claims to offer insights based on your birthday, you say. That's a fascinating concept. This idea that the day you were born could reveal hidden truths about who you are.
Right. And I mean, this isn't like your typical daily horoscope, like the kind you skim in the newspaper. We're going way deeper than just sun signs here.
Deeper. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So what kind of depths are we plumbing today, then?
Well, according to Adam's Birthday Book, we're talking personality traits, potential hurdles you might face, even glimpses into how you approach relationships. And all this just based on the day you were born.
Wow, okay, that's a lot to unpack. So it's about uncovering those hidden patterns and tendencies, those kind of like, I guess, almost like a new lens through which you might view yourself and your journey through life.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on January 18th.
All right, January 18th it is. Let's see what Adam's Birthday Book has to say about those folks.
Okay, so the book describes people born on January 18th with this great phrase, never far removed from their childlike and playful selves. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Childlike and playful. I like it already. I think it suggests an inherent curiosity about the world, like a zest for life and a certain openness to experience that unfortunately so many of us seem to lose touch with as we get older.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It definitely paints a pretty vivid picture. But it also got me thinking, like, what does it really mean, to hold on to that childlike sense of wonder and playfulness as you become an adult? Is it all fun and games, or are there some inherent challenges that come with that?
That's the big question, isn't it? Because while that inherent playfulness can be a real asset, a source of strength, it can also lead to misunderstandings. In fact, the book even mentions that people born on January 18th might find themselves being chided for being naive.
Ouch. That's a little harsh, don't you think?
Yeah, it does sting a bit.
But I guess I get it. Not everyone understands or appreciates that kind of free-spirited energy.
Exactly. But let's flip the script for a second. You could also see this so-called naivete as a sign of authenticity, like a refusal to play games or engage in cynicism or manipulation, which, let's face it, the world often seems to reward those things.
Yeah.
So in that context, holding on to that genuine spirit, that's no easy feat.
It's like they're hardwired for sincerity, which honestly in today's world can be so refreshing.
Absolutely.
But Adam's Birthday Book doesn't shy away from potential difficulties either. Like, it talks about how transitioning into adulthood, especially dealing with parental expectations, that can be rough for January 18 folk.
That makes me think of the hero's journey archetype, leaving behind those carefree days of childhood, having to step into the unknown of adulthood, facing challenges and expectations. It's a universal story. And maybe just understanding that archetype can be helpful for these individuals.
Totally. It's like, yeah, it's not just you. It's this bigger cycle playing out. Now, one of the things that Adam's Birthday Book emphasizes is that for January 18th, individuals finding a career path that lets them tap into that inherent playfulness and creativity is key.
Otherwise, they risk feeling stifled and unfulfilled.
Exactly. But that kind of makes me wonder, how do you balance that need for creativity and play with just the practical realities of adult life, especially in a world that so often seems to prize like stability and security over passion?
That's a challenge a lot of people face, for sure.
Definitely. And speaks of challenges, life isn't all about careers, right? So let's shift gears for a minute and talk about another important aspect, relationships. What does Adam's Birthday Book have to say about how January 18th individuals approach love and partnerships?
Okay, let's see. Relationships. Oh, here we go. It looks like, according to the book, folks born on January 18th, they might be drawn to partners who provide a certain sense of, how should I put this?
Groundedness.
Stability.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, there's this subconscious desire for balance. The January 18th energy brings the whimsy and the fresh perspectives, and their partner brings that sense of stability. A perfect pairing.
A match made in Adam's Birthday Book heaven. But the book also stresses that for these individuals, mutual trust and sharing are absolutely crucial for a successful relationship. Which makes sense. Right? Like, without that foundation of trust, all the excitement and fresh perspectives in the world won't be enough to build a healthy, lasting partnership.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we get too far down the relationship rabbit hole, I want to switch gears again and talk numbers. Because Adam's Birthday Book delves into numerology, and apparently for those born on the 18th, it's all about the number 9.
Oh, the number 9.
Ah.
How appropriate. Why 9, you ask? Well, simply add the digits of the birth date together. 1 plus 8 equals 9. It's like a hidden code within the date itself.
Whoa! I never would have thought of it like that. But I gotta ask, what's so special about the number 9?
Well, in numerology, the number 9 is often associated with leadership qualities, compassion, and a deep understanding of the human condition. However, like Two Sides of a Coin, Adam's birthday book, also mentions that those influenced by the number 9 can be susceptible to, shall we say, difficult personalities.
Oh, difficult personalities. Okay, so what does that even mean? Are we talking toxic friends or just people who kind of march to the beat of their own drum?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
But if you ask me, I think it speaks to a certain empathy, a willingness to see the good in everyone even when it's not so obvious. And that might lead them down some very interesting paths.
Ooh, I can only imagine. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Before we unravel all the mysteries of the number 9 and its implications, let's take a quick pause. And then we'll come back and explore how all of this ties into the health and well-being of those born on January 18th. And we're back. You're listening to The Deep Dive. And we're smack dab in the middle of Adam's birthday book, seeing what kind of goodies it holds for those born on January 18th. Right before the break, we were trying to untangle those numerological threads connecting these folks to the number 9.
We were indeed. Quite the tangled web we weave when it comes to numerology, eh?
Tell me about it. But it sounds like this whole number 9 thing can come with its own health considerations, too.
That's right. The book draws a pretty interesting link between that January 18th energy and the importance of grounding practices.
Okay, so I gotta ask, not grounding, like earthing, right? Like going barefoot in the grass.
Well, hey, if that's your thing, more power to you.
Right.
But in this context, grounding is more about finding ways to anchor yourself in the present moment. In the here and now.
You keep those feet firmly planted on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book suggests that folks born on January 18th, they might be particularly susceptible to feeling kind of scattered or overwhelmed if they're not actively practicing some form of grounding.
So if their heads are always up in the clouds, what brings them back down to earth?
Well, Adam's birthday book specifically mentions things like social interaction and responsibilities as being super important. It's like those connections to other people and to the tangible world. Those really help to provide some balance to their naturally imaginative, free-flowing energy.
That's really interesting. So it's about creating those anchors, those grounding forces that keep them from just floating off into the ether.
Precisely.
But it's not just about external things, right? Like I remember the book also kind of touched on the potential risks of, say, mind-altering substances for those born on January 18th.
Right. It does advise caution in that arena.
Yeah.
Because those substances can sometimes amplify that tendency to feel ungrounded, Like it can make it tougher to distinguish between what's real and what's part of their inner world of imagination.
So once again, it's all about finding that balance.
Balance is key, always.
Always. But, social interaction and responsibilities, those can only take you so far, right? So for those born on January 18th, what are some other tools they can use to stay grounded while still honoring that beautiful childlike sense of wonder that makes them so unique?
That's a great question. Well, mindfulness practices can be super helpful. Things like meditation or just spending time in nature, those can work wonders.
Right. The classics.
Exactly. But we're talking about folks who thrive on creativity and playfulness. Right?
Really?
So it makes sense that those elements would also play a role. Things like expressive writing, dancing, creating art, anything that allows them to channel their emotions and their energy in a healthy, productive way, while at the same time connecting to the present moment.
So it's about finding those outlets that are both grounding and genuinely joyful. I like that.
Right.
Okay, so we've got quite the toolkit now for staying grounded. Social connection, responsibility, mindfulness, creative expression. It's like a recipe for balanced living.
I'd say so.
But I'm curious, what happens if someone with that January 18th energy, they just don't prioritize these things? What's the risk?
Well, it's important to remember that Adam's birthday book, it's offering insights, not like a concrete prediction. It's not about saying, oh, if you don't do these things, this will definitely happen. It's more about understanding potential challenges.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think the risk might be that they become so immersed in their inner world, so captivated by their imagination, that it becomes difficult to navigate the demands and responsibilities of everyday life.
So it's not about specific dangers per se, but more about finding that sweet spot between imagination and practicality, which, let's face it, is something we all struggle with. Easier said than done right.
Way easier. But like anything in life, awareness is the first step. And speaking of awareness, there's one last nugget of wisdom from Adam's Birthday Book that I think ties everything together beautifully. You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
All right, so this involves a little detour into the realm of the tarot, specifically the card associated with January 18th, the moon.
Ooh, the tarot. Now we're talking. I love a little mystical twist. But before we get ahead of ourselves, for those of us who might not be tarot experts, what's so special about the moon card?
Well, the moon card is often linked to the subconscious, to dreams, intuition, those hidden depths within ourselves.
Oh, so definitely some overlap with that childlike fancy we've been discussing.
Right, but there's a but coming.
I can feel it.
Just like the moon itself, which has both a light and a shadow side. The moon card also speaks to the potential for illusion, for fear for the unknown. It's a reminder that things aren't always as they appear.
Okay, chills. Literal chills.
Okay.
So how does this tie back into everything we've learned about those born on January 18th?
Well, I think it's like the book is giving them a gentle nudge, encouraging them to trust their intuition, to embrace that creative spark, but also to stay mindful of the potential pitfalls they might encounter along the way.
So it's about walking that tightrope between imagination and reality with open eyes and an open heart.
You got it. And that, my friend, is where our deep dive into Adam's Birthday Book and its insights into January 18th comes to a close. But before you go, we've got one last thought-provoking tidbit to leave you with.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been taking a deep dive into Adam's Birthday Book to see what kind of wisdom it holds for those born on January 18th. And I gotta say, they definitely saved the most, mysterious revelation for last. The moon card.
It does feel rather fitting, doesn't it? All this talk about balancing that delicate dance between imagination and reality. And here we are with the moon card, which is all about embracing the mysteries, those hidden depths that lie beneath the surface.
It's like it was meant to be. But, we've talked about how the moon card often represents things like intuition, dreams, the subconscious, all that good stuff. But how can someone born on January 18th actually use that information in their life? They can't just whip out the moon card every time they have to make a big decision.
Well, not literally, no. Although that would make for some pretty interesting board meetings.
Right.
But I think it's about tapping into the qualities that the moon card represents.
Yeah.
You see someone born on January 18th. They already have that natural inclination towards what we've been calling childlike fancy, right? So for them, it might be about really learning to trust those gut feelings, that inner voice that whispers this way or steer clear.
Like they've got a direct line to their intuition, which, let's be real, is a superpower if you know how to use it.
Absolutely.
But Adam's Birthday Book, it doesn't just stop at trust your gut. It also kind of hints at the flip side of the moon card, the shadows, illusion, uncertainty, those moments where you're just not sure what to believe.
Right. And that's where the real work comes in. Because it's not enough to just have strong intuition. You also need the discernment to know when it's really speaking to you and when you might be letting your imagination run a little wild.
So again, it all comes back to finding that balance, honoring your intuition while also staying grounded in reality. Which, let's be honest, is probably a lifelong journey for all of us.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right. Exactly. But for folks celebrating those birthdays on January 18th, maybe this whole connection to the moon card, it gives them a little bit of a head start.
The cosmic cheat sheet, if you will.
Love it.
But in all seriousness, I think it's a beautiful reminder that each of us, regardless of our birth date, we all have this capacity for both light and shadow imagination and practicality. It's in finding that balance, embracing the fullness of who we are, that we truly unlock our potential.
So well said. And that, my friend, brings us to the end of our deep dive into Adam's Birthday Book and the wisdom it holds for those born on January 18th. We've covered so much ground today. Everything from personality quirks and relationship patterns to numerology and the mystical allure of the moon card. But more than just a deep dive into a book, this has been an exploration, like a journey into what it means to be you, to uncover those unique strengths and challenges that your birthday might reveal, and hopefully to use that knowledge to live a more fulfilling and authentic life.
Because at the end of the day, knowledge without action, it's just words on a page, right? It's in the application, the choices we make each day, that we truly make those insights our own.
So to all you January 18th folks out there, we hope this deep dive sparked a little something. Maybe ignited a sense of curiosity, a desire to look a little deeper into those hidden parts of yourself. And to everyone else listening, thanks for coming along for the ride. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive where we'll uncover even more fascinating insights and aha moments together. Until then, happy exploring.